So I signed into Twitter and noticed a couple of things near the top of my feed, and there was two posts back to back from the US Department of State about Ukraine. What's this about? So I did a little search, and of course, oh, look at this. Just posted on Sunday from thehill.com. House Intel chair says Ukraine aid will have overwhelming support in Congress after recess. So in other words, there's going to be another push for more money into this big boondoggle so more Ukrainians can die for no good reason. That's what it's about. But that's not why I'm making a video about it. No, the reason I'm making a video about it is because, first of all, they're saying support for Ukraine is not just from the United States, it's from country after country in Europe and well beyond. No, it's not. And especially if you talk about the public support, but that's not the one that prompted me to make this video. It's this one that they posted shortly after that. Ukraine stands for values we all share. Democracy, self-determination, freedom. We are hashtag united with Ukraine. Where do I start? Well, first of all, let me say this. I have nothing but love and empathy for the people of Ukraine, for the Russian people, and for the people of all the nations on earth. Like the orange man was attacked for saying, of course he gets attacked for saying just about anything nowadays, but as he was attacked for saying not too long ago, I just want people to stop dying. And while I could go into a whole rabbit hole about U.S. interference in the internal politics of Ukraine going back decades, what I want to hit on in this video is this statement by the U.S. Department of State in print, and taxpayer dollars are being spent in posting this. I don't know how much it costs, but it costs the taxpayer money to do this propagandizing. And this thing about Ukraine stands for values we all share. I'm sure most of the people, if not all of the people in Ukraine, stand for these values: democracy, self-determination, freedom. The government of Ukraine does not. A quick search will bring up story from NPR. Zelensky has consolidated Ukraine's TV outlets and dissolved rival political parties. Does that sound like a nation that stands for democracy and freedom? A nation where the leader has dissolved rival political parties. That doesn't sound like a democracy to me. That doesn't sound like democracy is their values. It sounds like tyranny. It sounds like authoritarianism. From Emily Feng, President Zelensky has consolidated all TV platforms in Ukraine into one state broadcast and restricted political rivals. Political opposition fears such civil liberty constraints could continue. Before the war, Ukraine had a dizzying array of television news stations. But in March of 2022, President Zelensky decided to consolidate them into one 24-hour channel, but not all stations were included. I'm sure those other stations feel free to openly criticize government policy at this point. This person, Miss Orlovska, I'm sure I'm butchering that and I apologize. We do hope we can begin broadcasting again after Ukraine wins the war. Do you think she really believes that? Or do you think she doesn't want to get shot? But during the martial law, there are certain restrictions. We cannot oppose our exclusion. Oh, democracy's just flourishing in the land of the blue and the yellow. Late last year, which would be 2021, Zelensky announced Poroshenko was being investigated for treason. And this past March, 11 political parties were suspended and any of their elected members dismissed from office for being pro-Russian. Most were fringe, but one party had nearly 10% of seats in Ukraine's parliament. Ukraine's Minister of Culture tells NPR Ukraine also had to take a stronger anti-Russian stance when it came to the country's media landscape. because that's what democracies do. And here's an interesting part. Victoria Sumar is a member of parliament and part of the same party as Poroshenko, technically making her the opposition to Vladimir Zelensky's party. But she stresses she's still a patriot. And she said, today, this is again back in 2022, I believe in Ukraine that there are no anti-government opposition forces. All Ukrainian politicians are united in opposition to Putin and Putin's Russia. But, she says, actually, I think it's the reporter Fang for NPR that says, restrictions on these worry the opposition, namely that Zelensky is clearing out political rivals before the 2024 presidential election. Before the war, he was a deeply unpopular president. Does that remind you of anybody?